meeting to order. It's now. I am going to read the Indigenous recognition. London and Middlesex Community Housing provides housing on the traditional lands of the Anishinaabe, Haudenosaunee, Lenape, and Atalondra. We acknowledge the local First Nations communities in this area, the territory of the Chippewa of the Thames, the Oneida of the Thames, and the Munsee Delaware Nation. We honor and respect the history, languages, and culture of the diverse Indigenous people who call this territory home. Today, the City of London and Middlesex County is home to many First Nations, Métis, and Inuit people. We are grateful to have the opportunity to work and live in this territory. Completion and acceptance of the agenda. Before we move it, I understand you want to amend the agenda, Mayor Grantham?
I would, Chair. I would like to move the People Services and Housing Committee report to just after the CEO update, if I may.
Thank you. Anybody prepared to second that? Seconded by Kathleen. All in favor? It's so amended. So can I have a motion for the amended agenda? Someone prepared to move it? Kara moves it, seconded by Greg. All in favor? So we have an amended agenda. Any disclosures of pecuniary interest? There being none. The minutes of the previous meeting, we haven't met. It surprised me today since August 21st. So I'm going to assume everybody's reviewed them. So I'll look for a motion to approve those. Kara, seconded by Gary. All in favor? Next is communications. We do have some in-camera communication. That's what we have today. So I'm going to ask a motion to move in camera to discuss that. By Kathleen, seconded by Greg. All in favor? That's passed. So I'm going to ask everyone to leave except for Paul.
Matt, you're ready to go?
Yeah. Give me 2 seconds.
So just the CEO update is just going to take a little bit of a different approach. The report is going to provide a full review. First, just recognizing that it is National Housing Week. Here at LMCH, National Housing Day officially on Saturday, 22nd. So for LMCH, we are using an opportunity to just connect our staff, community celebrator, to really just try to develop opportunities to really connect with staff and tenants so that we're sort of better understanding their needs and sort of making sure staff are in our community. So we've been doing a whole bunch of things, just social events. We've got staff running some games, we've got pizza lunches, bingos, talking to tenants about why they're happy with housing or what makes them happy about their housing, and those just trying to just keep that conversation going. We also took the opportunity to have tenants nominate their neighbors for sort of recognition as community leaders, as good neighbors, those types of things. So we have a few tenant awards that have gone out in every, so it's just nice to sort of be able to say, thank you, your neighbors recognize you, we recognize you, and it meant a lot for the tenants. So just trying to just bring that, I guess, the word gratitude into the work we're doing, and while we want our staff to connect with the tenants and their experience all the time, taking the opportunity to connect them differently through this type of focused work, it provides a really good opportunity for our staff. And our staff have really enjoyed it, our tenants have really enjoyed it, and I think it just means a lot for us as we sort of celebrate National Housing Day. I think we just need to celebrate so the approach I took in the CEO update as we move forward. Just wanted to give you sort of what is a quick year-end wrap-up look like for LMCH. And sort of there's so much work happening on the ground and in the fields and in the units, but what does that mean across the organization? And we sort of focused on a few areas here. One, the groundwork for regeneration began with Reimagine Southdale, community engagement to define the future generation and the future regeneration, and you know, that we were able last month to celebrate the first new building for LMCH. That's a pretty important milestone for the organization, builds confidence. We look at the capital projects and I have some numbers later, but just really ramping up since 2020. The investment from the city of London in London Middlesex community housing through the first multi-year budget, and we've been able to really improve the state of repair and address that capital repair backlog. So that, and I think one of the big milestones was the development of the asset management, structured, data-driven approach, system that the city and needs. So that's an important milestone. The organizational review began in 2024. In 2025, we introduced our first chief operating officer. And we started the realignment of the operating teams. And sort of through the last 6 to 8 months working through that, we're putting the strategic pieces in place, but also just on Monday of this week, we started the custodian onboarding process where we'll bring our cleaning services in-house, the LMCH, which is an important milestone, which will be the continued service improvement and really support the organizational objectives. And I think just the other strategic focus area the last few years for us has been integrated pest management. It was developed to enhance the program and meet the reductions in pest control. And while, you know, we started tracking the numbers, I think we were all surprised with the level of infestation, and then, you know, they were trending in directions we didn't want to see. And then over the course of the last year, and we'll highlight that in the package and in the report later, we're moving in the right direction. Strides in that. So we've got some really big, impactful for the organization, the corporation, future-looking stuff. We're dealing with the on the ground. So just highlighting those folks. Just run through just a few quick facts of regeneration. It began and continues to be with the engagement tenants, stakeholders, and community. We have the regeneration plan being finalized in early 2026. Got Reimagine Southdale, 53 units, occupancy starting. Right next door, Reimagine Southdale Phase 2 underway with completion in summer of 2027. We've got Reimagine Southdale Phase 3. Got to get the shovel ready. Ladybrook, we're getting ready to move the shovel ready. And we've got to identify the next 3 priorities. So just with Reimagine Southdale and Ladybrook, those projects move forward, that is about 375 units and do over 200. That's really significant for us to keep that going. The organization's on the right track. In terms of capital, I think these are the numbers that surprised me the most. So we have the asset management plan approved, shared with the city. The city has dedicated us to OG funding of $5 million over 3 years, which they haven't done before. We have since 2020 invested $74 million through capital improvement programs, the CMHC repair and renew, and the regeneration activities. Year to date, we're just under $24 million for the first 9 months, almost $8 million a quarter being invested into our. So it is not money spent, it's money invested in the communities. And as of the end of Q3, 197 capital projects are from just getting started to just winding down. So there's a lot of work happening. In terms of organizational review, chief operating officer, 3 new senior managers, realigned operational leadership. We've got realigned operations management for tenant success, which is important about how to make tenants successful in their housing. We deal with a lot of complex tenants, so we're focused on that now. So realigning our leadership and our management team to address the issues we're identifying and bringing the cleaners in transitioning the majority of the existing cleaners to be LMCH employees, creating a new program, and modernize the tools, equipments, and approaches. So how do we move beyond the mop room? What else do we do to keep the place clean? And what quality assurance program do we need to make sure we're meeting?
Excuse me.
And one of the things you'll hear from us a lot, we're starting to see traction, in the last 5 months on it, is the focus on community safety and health. We are now better positioned to engage with agencies, municipal, provincial partners, and state, trying to move from a reactive model to having proactive planning to improve the well-being for our tenants. So just simple examples of things we're working on this year is we're working with the Ministry of Health, with other local housing corporations, to look at the health indicators and challenge for tenants living. We know the data tells us the health challenges of our tenants are greater than the general population. What does that mean in how our health partners need to serve our communities is the question. How do we bring them in to address those needs? And sort of that's the top down approach. The bottom up is we're speaking to our municipal and community partners, including our local health team, the paramedics, police, and others, and saying, how can you help us inform them? So what are those 911 calls? What are those emergency room visits that we can start working with our local partners to address on the ground? Look for those quick hits or that shared understanding of some of the challenges. I think that will create the platform to inform how we move forward, what funding we're requested, what we other levels or orgs are done to support the needs of our tenants. Integrated pest management. We did an RFP. We have two providers. We have built into our program, the integrated pest management program, preventive treatments. They are now standard protocol. When we went to the unit inspections, we identified any unit that had a pest that we weren't treating, and they were added. Right, so we had a little blip during the unit inspections where we increased our treatment, but we know we're treating the right units. Communications developed. Integrated pest management toolkit for tenants. So we have something that can help them better understand what they can be doing to improve their units and help manage a pest-free environment. What that led to over the course of this year is an 18% infestation rate overall across the world. We remember at some point, so about a year ago, we were saying it's 20%. What we're able to see when we break up the data on the building level, we have 9 sites at or below our 10% service target. That's our long term. We think this is the level that we should hit. Right now, we have 15 sites at or below our 15% 2025 target. We knew it was going to take a while to get everybody to 10%. So now we have about half of our sites hitting our target. So as we move forward, we're going to continue to make improvements, focus our plans and energies on those sites that have a higher rate, and start addressing the cost issues. I think one of the things that we are seeing across a lot of the work we're doing, whether it's regeneration and other work, is we're being recognized by others. So Ontario Nonprofit Housing Association recognized Brandon Mary of the Caring Cupboard at Third Baseline as the receiver of the 10th Achievement Award. I think that's an important recognition for the work that they're doing. And I think, while they are leading and we can say we're supporting them, it's really like support. But I think we're collaborating with them to help them be successful. We're not propping them up. We're not funding them. We're not doing work for them, but we're collaborating with them. When they have issues, we're a good partner for them. And I think that's sort of important to recognize that we're helping tenants be successful. And it's part of our community development strategy. And it's just a great example. So at today's meeting, we're going to receive lots of information updates from staff on strategic projects and programs across the organization. We're also going to be asked to review and approve initiatives that help us move forward. The accessibility policy for LMCH is in your package. It sets down the framework for how we're gonna manage accommodation requests. And it identifies the next steps to get tenant input in our process, so they can have their tenant, policy that have tenants. You'll see our 2026 capital plan with about $10 million worth of investments. We'll be moving small projects forward, so procurement award for a lighting project at our Huron site. Right, that's important to sort of just keep our community safety improvements and things moving along. And there's another request to award the contract for building condition assessments. As part of our asset management plan, we have a commitment to review each site every 5 years. By moving that forward in 2026, we will be well positioned for the multi-year budget and our ongoing capital needs for investment. And you'll see lots of review of our policies. This is our commitment to just keep looking at what we're doing, identifying any improvements we need to make. As we move into the new year, you're going to see some important things come before you. You're going to see the LMCH Master Regeneration Plan in Q1, which will set out our growth strategy and our investment required. You're going to see a recast of the 2026 operational budget once the city budget process is completed, and do a bit of a zero-based budgeting exercise over the next few months. Coming to each of your work plans for committee or for each of your committees, we will request for input into the work plans. I cannot emphasize enough that you need to tell us the things that you're curious about, so we can get a report back to you to help you understand the issues faced by our community and improve. So we look for you to guide us through that, and then we can paste that back to you with information that helps you understand what we're doing, how to make improvements across our. So we'll have that in Q1, bring it forward, and we'll pace it out and we'll get the work done. So that's the way you reflect your priorities into the committee work plans and in the board. So just reflect on one of those things that you're curious about or you're concerned about, and make sure you raise those then. And I think one of the things that we're doing internally is recasting key performance indicators. Right, so we have a lot of fine print in a lot of areas. Which ones get raised up? What other ones you see? What are the service standards? We'll communicate those to you, and we'll have those as discussions. So just there's lots of important work that'll happen in the first quarter. So that sets the tone. We do want to hear your voice reflected in how we organize ourselves and what we put in. So just that is sort of our request, is just please be ready to have a okay, so that is my CEO update. Thank you.
So can we move in second something of that before move like second by Kathleen? So questions or comments on Paul's report? First of all, Paul, thank you for that. It's a nice summary of the work, not just from this year, but the work we've been doing since most of us have been on board. So it's really good to see that in that form. So thank you for that. Questions, comments? I just wanted two things I wanted to mention. First of all, the past fiscal report, it's great to have those numbers and see them going down. I think a couple of meetings ago, I was trying to say it's 25 as good as we can do, and evidently it isn't. And you guys, which to your credit, you wouldn't accept that as being the best case, but that's also helpful for us as a board. When somebody says they had an investigation, we can say we'll work on that, but here's our numbers, and we're doing quite a bit better. So I'm pleased to see that. The other thing I just wanted to mention is, and the deputy mayor would know this, we're having a meeting on January 9th, I think, with the mayor and I think the city manager, just to sort of talk about the regeneration plan and the things we've done, where we're going. And then I would hope that we'll come to SPDC when it's appropriate in the spring sometime to make a fulsome presentation about where we are planning on going. That'll, I think, really useful to us. The last thing I wanted to say is I just wanted to mention the opening of this site. I thought we had a fantastic presentation. I think it spoke for itself. I wanted to just mention that there had been some talk at the board about Kathleen speaking, and Kathleen did speak at the opening, and it was fantastic. Very much appreciated, means a lot more than, I think some of us, some others of us talking, just because of your background, your experience, and you live in the building, so thank you for that. So those are the comments I have. Anything else? Just then we'll vote, I'll accept that report. Thank you very much. All right. So we'll move on to the, pursuant to the amendment of the agenda, the People Services and Housing Committee reports. There are 9 reports. I assume we're just for receipt. So do you want us to move all those reports at once, Mayor Grantham?
I did, Chair, but before I did, I just wanted to make a comment overall on the reports rather than individually. I'm sure everybody could read them, but Paul's report was a good segue into a comment that I wanted to make. I mentioned before, I've sat and I've read the reports, and quite frequently I ask, why are we doing the things that we do? Certain things with, community development, the tenant experience and those. And I actually got the answer last meeting. That's what I would like to point out. And I think Paul mentioned it tonight too, that, if we have a happy, healthy tenant who are engaged and caring about their properties and what they do, it makes the overall job a lot easier. It makes things better for the community as a whole. So I just want to point that out, Chair. I've had that question, why are we doing certain things that we do in these reports? So I got that answer last meeting. So that was my takeaway for it. I was very thankful. So I'll just move that we receive all those reports for information, Chair.
That's reports 1 through 9. So someone
1 through 9.
Kathleen seconds it. Questions or comments on those 9 reports? There being none, then all in favor? Those matters are passed. So we'll go to the reports for approval. Chair, I didn't know how you wanted to proceed with those.
Well, I think because they need approval, we should go through those individually. So first is the staff report regarding the expense policy. We should need somebody to move first to accept it, and then the seconder, then we can go open for discussion. Anyone to bring a motion to accept? Greg, Okay. Yep. Are there any questions of Paul? Hopefully you've read the report if there are any questions. Okay. If not, motion to accept those reports. Next is the accessibility report, and Paul, I believe you touched on this in your report. So motion to approve that policy. See someone there. Kathleen, second by Kara. Because this was a new one and it was highlighted in your report, Paul, did you want to just very briefly talk about it, what it is and what's new about it? Or is Sarah back there? I don't see. Oh, there she is.
Sorry, Sarah.
Oh, no worries. Yeah, so through the chair, putting forward the accessibility policy for your approval. What the report says essentially is that all businesses in Ontario are required to every 3 years file accessibility compliance report. We have not done that at LMCH since 2011, and so essentially we're not compliant. Why that's important is that we need to ensure we align our organization to the accessibility requirements from a legislative perspective, but most importantly, for our tenants, right? To serve us rights to an accessible environment as needed. So one of the things that why this is important is it allows us, the approval of this policy allows us to move forward when publishing and working through finalizing and publishing our multi-year accessibility plan at LMCH. It allows us to move forward with further engagement with our tenants as it relates to policy and the processes kind of the policy as well, in addition to additional training for our staff. And one important thing that just to note, because there are some companion policies to this, of which will also, on approval, this will allow us to move forward with the next meeting and board meeting to review our transfer policies as well. as that's a piece, of how we're going to, accommodate or by months program. So just to keep that in mind as well too, is one part, a larger piece of work, that we're not only accountable to do, that we have responsibility to keep applying for, but our clients.
Are there any questions, comments? Seeing none, all in favor of accepting the policy? There you go. Chair, the floor is back over to you. Thank you for that.
Thank you, member. I appreciate that. So we'll go back now to the finance reports. And the first of the finance reports for information, and I'll turn things over to the chair.
Thank you, Chair. I will. First, I'll move that, accept the reports 38, 39, 43, 44, all for information. Second on that, Kathleen, okay, I'll give you a quick overview on those, and if you've got any questions, comments, John is here to discuss. We can debate these, discuss at length at the park committee. Quickly, the financing corporate service updates, key items, the insurance renewal was approved, hired an IT manager, service manager. And there, report 39, Q3 financial results. We are running a surplus. There was a significant one actually after 9 months, but we don't expect to be there by the end of the year. But we will still forecasting at this point to hold a small surplus, which is better than a small deficit that was budgeted. The key items there, rental revenues are up versus budget. Operating expenses are also up, but not as much, which allows us to have financial position. Report 43 on the reimagined Southdale phase 1. That is done. This was John's last report on that project. We have occupancy, people are moving in, and expecting overall to be 2 million under budget. It's 27.2 million on the project versus 29.2 that was forecast. That gives us some money to move over into the next projects. I think Jacqueline is still working on efficiencies cleanup. That's right. Yeah, the timeline expected. Unfortunately, no hard fast date, but third time down was aggressive. In fact, it was done on seems like feature in there, so that's good. And then report 44, the reimagined Southdale phase 2 update started July. Looking at for 2 years to complete that for June 2027. Working now under the foundation and shell permit, waiting on the full permit. I've got Norlon contract there of 22.4 million. We build $1.5 million for the end of September. Full project budget for 29 million. That's going on so far so good. So highlighted those reports. Any questions, comments on those? Okay, all in favor? Good.
The reports for approval, Chair?
Yep, there are reports for approval. Reports for approval. I'm gonna run through these quickly as well individually, and just give quick highlights. And again, John and Paul are here for questions as we go. Report 34 on carbon monoxide detectors. Bottom line is, we have to do it. It's going to cost us $300,000. We're going to try and find the money somewhere. So, it's more background on that. That is an updated fire code, and we got notice of that from the fire marshal, and the late notice. So we're trying to get that done as possible. So the report before you is to approve the additional costs.
Question. Have we engaged with London Fire Department and or Bridge with where, so they just kicked off a program where they're doing carbon monoxide detectors for building, so it's like Bridge is doing one to the fire department to get out the door.
No, we're not aware of that.
Okay. I don't know that we can get enough to cover our needs, but even if we could, so perhaps Paul, if I send you and John. The people that, because I was just in an announcement with Enbridge folks since our final meeting, so I'm wondering if I connect you, if we could look at whether or not Enbridge might. Help them supply some. I mean, I'll move the current, but if we can find a way to reduce that dollar value by having corporate donation from Enbridge of a few hundred units, then great.
So, as I mentioned, with Sean's updates, seconder on that. Kara, all in favor? Yes, last hearing. And 35, staff reporting capital projects, there are 3 approvals in here. This is the big one, and this is what, Paul was talking about in his CEO, highlights. I don't know if I would do it justice to talk about it, but capital budget at 10.4 million. John's team spent significant time prioritizing projects based on how we can improve our building condition assessments, and improve kind of quality of tenancy in the buildings. We elaborate on that for that is a lot of work went into that.
Sure, thanks. Bringing to the chair, just a bit of detail on how the budget was prepared. Basically, we did some marginal analysis, what expenditure would move the facility condition. Index score the most per building, identifying projects that came up in the previous building condition assessments as needing work done in this year or coming years, balancing that against the number of work orders or break fix occurrences for the same piece of equipment or asset system, balancing that against the FCI score, which was at greater impact. One has an impact on our FCI score moves positively. The other has an impact of tenant satisfaction of tenant experiences enhanced. So that balanced approach resulted in the budget received for 7% projects.
The second approval in this report is to reallocate 434,000 from closed projects, either complete or canceled, to general contingency. And the third approval is to reallocate 100,000 from that general contingency to the Huron site lighting project, which is coming up later for award. So 3 approvals in there. Move that those be approved in a secondary timely. Thank you. This should have done that first proposal, but any further questions, comments? Thanks. All in favor? Sounds good. Report 36 was a CMHC Q3 update, so the approval here is for 1.25 million for 494 new water meters to replace rentals. So I would with that. Seconder. That's really the bottom line. We're gonna get rid of some Reliance water heaters and bring new water heaters in on this big move to get rid of the rentals and outfit that. And this is being funded within the CMHC program. Also in the report for information, just talking about the suite renovation turnover, it slowed down a little bit Q3, but identified items there that would be cleaned up, and then we expect that to pick up again for another update on the CMHC program. To date, we've drawn about 20.1 million out of 40 million dollars, so just slightly over halfway through that program. Any questions, comments on the CMHC capital and the water meters? Okay, all in favor? Thank you. Staff report 37. This is for the award $200,000 contract with Ed Euro Constructors. Funding is through the business based on to city for service improvements. I move that. Seconder. Eric, thank you. The in-your-in camera package, there's the bidder listing there and the rank for them, and Ed Euro can have it on top, so the approval of yours for the contract award. Questions, comments? All in favor? That's a very. We'll get 2 more to go. Next one is report 38 for Huron Streets. Lighting projects. This is for approval of 211,000 contracted energy network services. So keep do the lighting on that site. Leave that secondary. Thank you, Kathleen. They were low bid of 4 qualified bidders. After some reference checks, you're happy with, or you haven't worked with them before, correct? So that's our new contract for us, but references check out. All in favor? That's great. 39 is Director of Asset Renewal Q3 update. There is 2 approvals in here. One is contract extension to pension or asbestos reassessments on the buildings. Values for $107,000 over 4 years. Second approval in here is $303,000. Contract award to turn out towns and the building condition assessments. Note on that is that the original intention was to spread that out over 3 years. Now to knock this off in 1 year, a little bit more efficient to do that. So I'm going to do those 2 approvals. Seconder, Kara, thank you. Questions or comments on that? But, oh, Bill. I know.
I know. You just looked at me. You're feeling like me, I forget names all the time. I'm just interested in this one because we had to report a few meetings earlier about business condition, and whether we were gonna be doing that in a slightly different way, so that our building conditions would actually show us better, legitimately, better. So that's, I asked John about that and confirmed that's sort of hopefully what will come out of that. So I was really happy to see follow through on what was being proposed by John at our workshop into what we're actually doing. And I am interested in that because I did speak to a politician one day at a barbecue, and I said, I want to talk to you about London Middlesex housing. He said, yeah, well, all I know is your BCIs were really bad. So, I mean, it's a number that I think is misinterpreted. I think sometimes people interpret it to mean we're doing something bad or we're not doing something right. So I'm hopefully we'll get numbers that are truly accurate for our building. So I was very interested in that. That's all I just wanted to say.
Other questions or comments? All in favor? Back to you.
Thank you. Okay. Next reports are the executive committee reports for approval and following staff report 2025-42.
Yes, just a quick comment that all of our policies as approved have sort of a review window on them. So what you have before you is the tranche of board policies that were required review in 2025. There are no substantive changes within the policies. The minor sort of wording and sort of non-material changes that sort of keep them current with what's happening. And just the other thing that we're doing, so you'll notice instead of reviewing these policies every 2 years, we're just moving the window on some of them to 4 or 5 years, depending on the materiality. So we're just trying to stagger them. Do 20 policies every 2 years, then it just becomes a little overwhelming. As you know, a lot of material changes. This does not preclude us from reviewing a policy on requests from the board, or if we identify a change in environment to update the policy. So just happy to take any questions.
All right, first we'll get a mover, second, for the report, moved by Kathleen, seconded by Greg. Questions, comments? Anyone? All in favor? Cooperative group, that concludes all of that. There's no presentations. The in-camera was done earlier. New business, all I want to say is, this has been a very good year, for us. Finishing off with the opening here, which we're here tonight, which I think is great. But I think we're really starting to see the results of having a very good board and a very good leadership team who are here tonight. So I really want to thank everyone. I want to thank the board, all of the members of the board for the support. And then I want to thank our, as we all would, thank our team under Paul. I think it's an excellent team. Sometimes we don't have to ask as many questions about reports because quite frankly, the information we're getting is very good and very good, very up to date. So thanks to everyone. Have a great holiday, however you celebrate it, and we will be back in the new year. Motion to adjourn. Moved by Kara, seconded by Sean, all in favor. Great, thanks everyone.
Thank you, Alyssa.
Oh, Alyssa, bye Alyssa.
Hi and bye.